Anyone else here to speak at the budget hearing? Nobody? None of you people out there want to say a word? Okay. Greg. All right. I think then we'll conclude the budget hearing and we'll go back to the consent agenda, which we skipped.
You probably want to...
Oh, should we just go ahead and act? Okay. Sorry. We'll go to item D then, which is next on the agenda. That is the approval, board action on the budget, approval of the 2015-16 budget. Can my friend please give the motion?
I would be happy to. I move that the board approve the written resolution to adopt the 2015-16 annual budget, which a resolution is as follows. A resolution approving the revised budget for the fiscal year 2014-15 as it has been presented to the Board of Education during this meeting on June 2nd, 2015. Also, approving the budget for the fiscal year 2015-16 as it has been presented to the board on this date. Also, approving an increase to the property tax rate necessary to generate $1.5 million. This rate shall exceed the certified tax rate that will be set by the Salt Lake County Auditor. These funds will be used to, 1, pay a state-mandated liability for state-sponsored charter school students living in Salt Lake City, charter school local replacement. 2, for the Peer Assistance and Review PAR program. And 3, for professional development for teachers. In addition, authorizing any budget adjustments necessary to reflect funds received from the tax rate and committing the budget amount to the Board of Local Discretionary Levy to the Special Programs Fund and Capital Reserve Fund.
Thank you. Any discussion? Oh, second. Sorry. Rosemary, thank you. Any discussion to this? Michael?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. When we have, the memo we have here has 3 things that this $1.5 million go to. What's the breakdown of that between like the charter school, the peer-to-peer, and the professional development days?
The charter school local replacement, we anticipate that's going to be $900,000, okay. And we're not exactly sure on the other 2. It just depends on how much money we get from the state for the PAR program, and then the rest will go into professional development. And it depends because we are hiring 2 new teachers, not sure how much they're going to cost. So that's what we're anticipating we would need.
2 new PAR.
2 new PAR. 2 new PAR teachers.
Okay. So the other question I have is on March 17th, we got this document that was titled Public Education Charter School Local Replacement Formula. And the way I read it, and I went back and listened to the meeting, but the way I read it, it says that the current base contribution is $888,000, and that the new addition, which was at 25%, was $525,000. So I'm just confused that on this, if we were already, if we're just adding $525,000 because of the new law, that's the additional money for charter school. Why are we saying it's going to cost us $900,000?
Because they didn't add in the portion that we were currently paying. This was misrepresentative. That's why we handed out a separate sheet with the legislature. And did we include it in here, Michael?
I think it is.
Well, this is the one I got at the meeting, and it was explained like that.
At what meeting?
Well, this is from I pulled one off the web today. I mean, this is the one from my notebook. And then the one from the web said March 17th. And I went back and listened to the meeting, and we were saying
Janet, it's behind tab May 17, 2015. March.
Well,
sorry,
and
March.
if you add the 800 and the 525, what we're saying, look at the bottom, Michael.
Right.
That's $1.4 million.
Right.
Currently, we've only collected from our taxpayers $525,000. We don't go out every single year and ask our taxpayers for additional money for the charter school local replacement. We have had to pay $800,000 this year, but we've had to use one-time resources to get up to that point. That amount is going to increase every year. So in 2015-16, you'll be up to the 1.4, but there will be a time in the future where you're going to have to increase that again, because that amount goes up every single year.
I understand that, but what you just said doesn't match this form. This form says.
Yes, it does. So it says the current contribution is $888.
Right,
If we pay the full 25, we have to pay an additional $525. Look at the bottom, you can see the arrows.
Okay,
The
hold
total
on a
is
second.
1.4.
hold on a second. So what I understand is we're on the same page on that the 888,000 is the current contribution. This was back in March.
Current liability. You
Okay.
don't collect from the taxpayers that full amount.
Okay.
Right.
But-
Collect the 525?
Yes.
But why? But if the 525 is additional, why? That's the part I'm missing.
Okay, it's because we have asked our board in prior years to increase the tax rate for the charter school local replacement.
Right.
The amount we have asked you to increase that to is $525. We're not up to the $900,000 yet. We're asking you at this point to get us up to the 1.4 because we know that that's going to be our liability for the 15-16 year. And it's difficult every year to go out to the taxpayers and say, okay, our charter school local replacement's going to go up this year. It goes up every single year. So, we might ask you in 2 years to go through this again. But, it's difficult to do that every single year, but your liability increases every year.
So it goes up every year because we're required a higher percentage every year, or because
Yes.
more children are going to charter schools?
Both, because charter school local replacement is based on how much local property tax school districts collect. And so, because school districts are increasing their taxes, assessed values going up, that amount's going to go up. In addition, more students are going into charter schools. So this is an increase that's going to continue to increase.
But as we pay that 25% of the, are we paying, that 25% is the WPU of that student?
No.
What is that of?
Charter school local replacement. It's a different formula. In addition to the WPU, they get this additional revenue as well. But I think what's important, and Heather's brought this up as well, even though we have to pay our full 25%, charter schools receive an average across the state of whatever that value is.
So the 25%, Michael, is the amount of local revenue that we collect,
Yeah.
even though that's not the amount that we pass on to our resident charter schools.
Exactly.
Because charter schools, because they can't tax, they get this money from the state. That is at the average.
But it's 25% of the cost of that student. What happens to the other 75%?
State has to pay that.
Yeah, the state
Yes,
pays
and
that.
it's not 25% of the cost of the student. It is a payment in lieu of the ability to levy taxes.
Exactly.
They can't pay.
But that's a good point because the legislature pays that additional 75. If you remember, all during the legislative session, there was talk about that being 50%, but it's only 25.
So Janet, maybe, is that 888, is that like one-time money or something that we had to pay out of our savings?
Yeah, we did, because we had that additional liability. We had to pay that.
out of our savings.
Yes, we did.
So we
So-
paid that out of our savings and now we're trying to get it in our taxes.
Yes.
So that we're not, because we don't,
So
we're not
if
going
we're
to
not
have
using one-time money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're not going to have
We want to try to
$800,000
figure out,
every year.
Michael, how to do ongoing money for that piece
Mhm.
versus using our one-time monies.
This is the first I'm hearing of this one-time money issue.
Well,
No.
I think we've talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how this, I'm not sure what the disconnect is, but we can certainly, part of the reason for allowing board members to make appointments with Janet and go through the budget is to clear up issues like that before it comes to this, but it's fine to talk about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns, anything you want to say about the budget? I would just say one thing, and that is that I'm very much in support of this budget. There's a part of me that wants to raise taxes more because I think there are additional program needs that we have. And so I think as someone who has fiscal responsibility for the district funds, it makes me want to refocus our energies on making certain that we're spending the money in the best possible way for all the students. And I'm not opposed to coming back next year and asking for more if we can't get what our kids need.
I completely agree, Heather.
Ready to vote then on this resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Do we need to, is that enough?
That's enough. I just want to remind you that we'll have our truth and taxation hearing in August.
Do you know what date it is yet, Jen?
It will be confirmed in June. We're anticipating August 4th.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that important piece of our agenda. I think next, I'm sorry, I have the old get the new one. So now we'll go back to the consent agenda. And I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda, item A.
I move that we accept the consent agenda consisting of purchasing accounting report,